Hello and welcome to another edition of the iTutor Math Show. I am your host, Rebel Math Coach Bobby Ozuna. Today is Thursday, April 11th, 2019. This is my 11th live show and we are officially live.
One day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
All right, hello and welcome back. So today is Thursday, April 11th. This is my 11th live show. This is the second part of a four-part series entitled Word Problem Fundamentals because I don't have very fancy titles for these things. I'm not very good at that. But essentially, this is a second edition. Last week, I talked about keyword fundamentals for helping your children or your students or yourself master addition word problems. Today, I'm going to talk about subtraction word problems. Really, really simple concept. I was just talking to Matthew right now, and literally I was like, well, this show ought to last about 5 minutes because essentially everything that I taught last week is pretty much the same thing that I would talk about this week. But I probably would talk a lot longer than 5 minutes because I can go on and on about some of these things because it's pretty dear to my heart. It's very, very important. But I do want to start, before I start talking mathematics or anything around teaching mathematics at home, I want to give a big thank you to the Book Tales on Etsy. The Book Tales on Etsy. Hong, I want to thank you. I love the backdrop. We have an official new backdrop for the show. This is a really cool thing. This is total nerd stuff for me. This is what I love. This beautiful tapestry with the show. It's an exact replica of the logo itself. Pretty awesome. I love it. So Hong, if you're watching wherever you're at in the world, thanks for being patient with me while I was patient with you. It took a little while. It took almost 5 weeks, I think, for this thing to come in the mail. I was hoping to get it right after spring break, but things happen as they happen, so it's whatever. Pretty excited. Thank you. The work's great, so I love it. Also, I want to give props to a young man who I've had the privilege of working with for the past 7 years. So those of you who asked me about private tutoring, I'm pretty much on the down. I'm on the end of my career as a private tutor. I say that, and ironically, as I've been doing the show, I've gotten more requests for tutoring than I've ever gotten in the past. But there's a reason beyond why I'm going to walk away from tutoring, and that's pretty much the show. And of course, for those of you that know, I will be launching my own online math school this year entitled Rebel Math School. You will be able to go online and go to Rebel Math School. That URL's not up yet. And I will be releasing my own teaching courses. So I am ultimately going to teach math. So I'm not just a guy who's been doing it for many years, who talks like he knows what he's talking about. I will be releasing my first math course. I think my first math course that I'm finally going to release is going to be a fractions course. Fundamental fractions taught by me, probably a 2-hour course. I think it's about a 2-hour course. It'll cover everything's fractions. But anyways, so I was talking to Matthew about that. Matthew is a student that he's sitting here with me tonight live. I met Matthew 7 years ago. 7 years ago?
I think so, 7?
7? No, about 5 years ago. I met him about 5 years ago. You were in 7th grade. So I met Matthew in 7th grade. That's when we started working together. And we've been working together ever since. He's a phenomenal student, phenomenal young man. He's actively involved in his school. ILT?
Yes.
ILT Saginaw? Keller Saginaw ILT, Matthew San Martin. That's my boy. That's my student. I'm happy to say that our work together is about to end. He has accepted. Can I say it? He's accepted his invitation to UNT. He'll be starting UNT in the fall. I'm super excited. I love you, man. I'm proud of you. I'm so excited for the things that you're going to do in your life. I'll always be here to help you, whatever you need. Hopefully, I've imparted enough of my teaching, my approach to academics and school and math. My big wish for you, and I'm saying this right now to the camera, even though you're sitting right here. My biggest wish for you, Matthew, is that when you go to school and you're going to break the ice and make new friends, that when you sit in your first math class, that you look around that room, you find that person or those people that you know that, they're already got that timid look on their face. They might be a little bit scared. And I want you to take it upon yourself to introduce yourself, tell them my name is Matthew, and say, why don't we meet at a certain time? You build a schedule with people, and you say, hey, let's do this math together. And you impart on them some of the things that you've learned that have made you very successful math student, and you give that to them. That's my biggest wish for you. I just told Damien the other night that when you have a gift in this world, you owe it to the world to give it away. It's not for you to keep and hide under your bed. So I hope you take that, and if you do that and you serve other people, it's going to change the whole demographic of your entire future. So I'm super proud of you. So props to Matthew. After 5 years of working together from 7th grade all the way, almost every Saturday for the school years, for 5 years, we're about to part ways, and he's about to enter the world of manhood. Anyway, there you go. I proved it. I would take longer than 5 minutes to talk about a topic that's very simple. So props to them. So let's go ahead and look at what is the topic tonight? The topic tonight is word problems. This is, again, I talk fundamentals because to me, the elements that hurt America the most, the things that destroy our children the most, the things that are plaguing the American school system the most. And if you're out there, president of American school system, wherever you are, whatever planet you're on, wherever universe you're sitting at, whatever throne you think you're sitting on, we are plagued by struggles and a concept that is so simple. If we just changed the way we taught and approached mathematics, we could transform this entire country and lives of our children that otherwise most children who would be phenomenal math students never reach that full potential, partially because of how we teach them, partially of how we expect them to behave and to act and to think in the school system, and they don't reach their full potential, and it's pretty sad. So tonight, again, I teach fundamentals. Fundamentals are the core to anything you do, whether it's music, art, sport, and mathematics. Focus on the fundamentals. You do them until you just can't get them wrong. I used to say this thing all the time. I used to say this when I was working with my students, and I'd say it when I was working with adult students. When someone would say, well, how often do you practice? And I would say, look, when you were a child, you probably looked in the mirror to learn how to pick your nose. I know that sounds gross, but when you became an adult, you no longer had to look in the mirror to pick your nose because you had become a professional nose picker because you've done it 1,000 times. That's how often you want to practice the fundamental elements of mathematics so that it becomes no problem later. I used this quote before and I stole it and I don't know who it's from. If somebody wants to tell me, you can go ahead and comment and let me know. But there's a quote, there's an adage that says, great athletes practice until they get something right. Professional athletes practice until they can't get it wrong. And that's basically all that I have offered all these years to the students that I've worked with is pounding the fundamentals from different angles, not just one way. Contrary to what people say, there is more than one way to get a right answer. Sorry if you're being taught the right way and you get minus points if you don't do it this way. Sorry. Keep pushing through, get through high school. When you get to college level, where it's free thinking and it's a free world, you're going to love everything you started despising when you were struggling in the rules in school. You're going to love it when you get to college because free thinking is the point of higher learning. Trying different ways, presenting different approaches, opinions, perspectives, ideas, thoughts, I don't knows. All my students all these years was basically just covering fundamentals. So last week, as I said, I talked about word problem, fundamentals, keyword search, keywords for addition. Tonight, I'm going to show you keywords for subtraction. Pretty simple stuff. And again, the whole point is to learn how to master the fundamentals. The tagline for this show is building an environment of learning. I'm trying to partner with you as a parent to learn how do I take control or how do I become more actively involved in my child's education, specifically to mathematics, but you can apply the same approach to anything that your child learns, but specific to mathematics. How do I change the demographic of my home for my child, even if I don't know any mathematics? And that's the beautiful thing. I'm going to come back over to myself for a second. That's the most important piece. I cannot say this enough. I've said it 1,000 times. I hope to say it 1 million more times before I'm gone. The less you know about math as a parent or a guardian or a teacher or a tutor or a coach or a mentor or a neighbor, whatever you are, whatever role you are fulfilling, to want to help somebody in their education specific to math, The less you know, the better teacher and coach and facilitator you're going to be. I promise you. The less you know, the better. Because remember, it's show, don't tell. Telling people how to do math doesn't do anything for them. And in this society, the way our youth respond, the way the American cultures come, telling someone doesn't really do anything for anyone because you're giving them an answer that they're going to put on a sheet of paper and they're going to turn it in and then it's gone. It's out of their mind. They never think about it again. Showing someone how to explore, discover, decipher, break down, analyze, fail, miss repeatedly, walking a child through the process of learning how to obtain that knowledge themselves is the greatest teacher. That's an Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's a Mr. Miyagi. That's a Mr. Miyagi. That's a Rafiki the Baboon. Think about some of the greatest mentors and some of the greatest stories you've ever read. They didn't tell the hero what to do. They challenged them with riddles and crazy talk. But what they were doing is trying to lead them to a place that forced them to think for themselves. And as my buddy Joseph Espinosa says, that's what creates higher level thought. And unfortunately, it's not an easy thing to teach higher level thought in our American school system, depending on where you're at. You know, it depends on demographic, it depends on school. I'm sorry, but that's the reality. That's not always something that is encouraged because there's a fine line between teaching someone to rebel and think for themselves and then keep them in order and in line and raising their hand. So to alleviate the problem of whose fault, not whose fault, this show is designed to help you as a parent say, I'll take the ownership for my child at home. And in my house, everyone gets 100. There's really no grade. If they miss a problem 1,000 times, I still reward them because you're rewarding them for the effort because that's how we progress in our life. That's how winning is done, to quote Rocky. That's how we create success in our life because we create success by getting in the right types of habits. Matthew, as an example, is going to leave off to college. He's going to leave the nest for a little bit. He's going to be on his own. He's going to be in class. It's just a little bit different than high school, right? I mean, your first core classes are not much different than high school. There's a little bit more freedom of when I turn in assignments and when I don't, and whether I wear a hat or not. But he's going to have to think for himself a little bit. So helping your child be in that position right now that they can think and fail and get wrong answers, teaching them that if you keep going, you're building those success patterns that are really going to help your child. So see there, I told you. I could take a simple topic and talk about it a lot longer than what it is. So again, we are here to master the fundamentals at home. What does that mean? What does that look like? And how can I do it at home? So again, word problems. We are talking about subtraction. We're going to talk about keywords to help you identify subtraction word problems. So again, there's a disparity between children who are in first and second grade, learning how to count and add and subtract with their fingers and their toes. Then they get to third or fourth grade and suddenly it's like, oh no, I'm not getting A's and 100s and smiley faces and stickers. I'm getting 50s or 40s or 30s or zeros and I'm failing. And the only difference in the mathematics, because the addition and the subtraction is the same, the difference in the mathematics is suddenly there's word problems that require a whole other level, a whole other skill set, which is reading comprehension. So we got to know, how do I better myself? Let's start by understanding some keywords. Mastering the keywords helps your child and yourself understand what type of math are they asking me to perform, and then you get back to the simplicity of the addition and subtraction, or the subtraction in this case, because if your child already knows how to subtract, then the word problems are no longer a problem. It's just the fundamental math again, and that's it. I've taught algebra for years as a foreign language. I've told people for years, half of mathematics at the algebra level is vocabulary, understanding what they're asking me in a question, because the simplicity is it's fundamental math, routine, and routine. Don't forget, math hasn't changed since we've created the science of math. It really hasn't changed. Addition is addition. 1,000 years ago, adding is adding. 1,000 years from now, subtracting is subtracting. Now, of course, how we expect a child to learn it or how they teach it on one side of the world versus the other side of the world, of course, those are different. But that doesn't mean that that's the only way to do it. So, master fundamental math, master these keywords, you help take your child to a whole new level of now word problems are no longer a problem for me. And I'll tell you, I worked with a lot of adults over the years because I taught GED for many, many years. And it's the same for adults. A lot of adults that I work with struggle with word problems because there's a negative connotation built into our head because of what we experience early on in our early school years. That stigma's there that if I didn't do well when I was in school, then I'm not going to do well as an adult. You got to strip that away. This is easy. Last week I gave you the addition keywords. This week the subtraction keywords. Now let's talk about the simplicity of it. How do we master that? Again, let's talk flashcards, written and oral test, and then of course, there's a typo there. Shame, shame, shame. There's a typo there. Find addition word problems online. While you're at it, go ahead and find subtraction word problems online since we're talking subtraction this week. But really simple flashcards. Again, make yourself some flashcards. Really easy. Get you a pack of index cards. Put those keywords on them. And if you're following the show and you're actually going to implement these things in succession, then you could have a stack of index cards that have keywords for addition, and then you're also adding subtraction. Then you mix that up and you do like a quiz. You show the word sum. What does that mean? Sum triggers addition. If you see fewer, that triggers subtraction as an example. So, and again, next week we're going to talk multiplication. The week after that, we're going to talk division. Pretty much in 4 weeks, 2 hours of listen to me run my mouth, or you can mute me and just watch, take down those keywords, build your flashcards, start working with your child, and guess what's going to happen, parent? For that parent that says, I'm not very good at math, therefore I don't know if I can help my child at math, guess what's going to happen when you're spending 20 minutes a night? Not an hour a night, not 3 hours a night, not even 30 minutes a night, 20 minutes a night, 4 nights a week. Guess what's going to happen to you over the course of working with your child? You're both going to grow and develop those skills, which is important because guess what? If you're working with your child right now in 4th grade and they're struggling and you're working with them the whole school year, 36 weeks, 4 nights a week, 20 minutes a night, you're working with your child, guess what's going to happen in 5th grade? They're going to need you again, but you've also strengthened your skills to help them as you grow together as a family. This is a family thing. This isn't about sending them to their room and telling them to do their homework. Those days are over. It doesn't work in this modern America. It doesn't work with this generation of children. You have to be actively involved in your child's life to really help them progress academically. So again, if you're not strong at math, don't worry about it. Watch the show. If you got Facebook Messenger, ask me a question. If you got a phone, you can text me, you can call me, I'll walk you through this. It's really, really simple. The other thing is you're actively involved with your kid, you're actively involved with your child, you're using things like flashcards, and you're doing written and oral tests. I said this last week, I'll make this real brief. Written tests are great because they sit down and they have to write out the answer, right? That helps build long-term memory. Oral tests are great because you don't give them a chance to write anything down, forcing them to use their brain, to think through what they saw, which is that whole comprehension element that's really building that long-term memory, forcing them to recite an answer. That's 2 different ways. You've already given them 2 different approaches to learning that's all solidifying those skills. And again, the biggest thing, what if it takes, so here's a question. Bobby, what if it takes my child 4 weeks to learn all of these subtraction keywords? Here's my answer. So what? Why should it matter to you if it takes your child 4 weeks to learn something? Why should it matter to you if it takes your child 8 weeks to learn something? Because these keywords are fundamental whether you're taking a GED, an ASVAB, to get in the military, any kind of standardized test, any level of mathematics. Matthew, right now, we are finishing his statistics course. It's all word problems. I mean, 99% of all the statistic problems at his 12th grade level are word problems. So you might as well understand the keywords now. You might as well give them the freedom to learn it. Don't put a time constraint on your child. Don't tell them they have to learn something by a certain time. You're not helping them. You're hurting them. That really hurts your child. They already have that pressure from the school, and it's not the school's fault. They've got 36 weeks to teach a curriculum, and then they got to move on. They've got to touch on a topic for a few weeks, and then they move on. They're never going to change that concept. I'm telling you right now. Like I said, if the president of all math education in the universe came knocking on my door and I told them these things that are very, very simple, they're going to say, awesome, and we're going to keep it the same way. School's not going to change. You change at home. You give your children the time that they need to develop their skills that I'm telling you, this is a big tip, a big hint, they're going to need the same skill next year. So I don't care what they're learning right now in third grade. They're going to need it in fourth grade. They're going to need it in eighth grade. They're going to need it in ninth grade. And one day when you send them off to school to go do great things so they can come back and take care of you, they're going to need it then too. And if they become a parent, guess what? You see the pattern? It's just going to keep going. Hence the reason why they say some people, some families, some communities continue to thrive academically, and other communities, and you know what I'm talking about, they say that they don't. It's because we're passing on these skills. So again, pretty simple. I'm getting on a soapbox. Back to the topics. Flashcards, written and oral test are great. If you got a 20-minute drive home, that's a great time to talk about mathematics together, talk about some of those keywords, and then role play. That's a big one. Give your student, give your child, give your grandchild, give the child that you're working with a chance to play the instructor. You play the student, put them in a position to learn how to teach you and walk you through this. You're building some confidence in them. You're going to build some really, really powerful skills that are going to help them in their professional life later. I promise. You won't be disappointed. You'll be very, very pleased with the outcome. So again, that's pretty much it. In simplicity, it's just that simple. There's the keywords, and those are probably not all the keywords in the world. So if you're out there Googling saying, Bobby, you missed about 50 others, awesome. At least you got on the internet and found them, because that's the whole point, right? Get out there and find the information. Half the information that I know, I learned it on the internet anyways. So I appreciate you watching. Next week, we're going to do the same thing. I'll give you some tips and tricks, and we'll talk about the keywords for multiplication. The week after that, we go into division, and then we start a whole new series of topics, which I can't tell you. It's a secret. I do want to encourage you, if you are watching live, no questions. Thank you for joining. I want to give some props. I want to say thank you to some people. So Matthew, thank you for being here. Sandro Garcia, thank you for joining. You join every week. I love your input. I love your feedback. Nina Ponce, love you. Thank you for joining. Cynthia, Luis Chavarria, Freddie, very nice of you to join. Lindsay, Valamagulis, thanks for joining. Catherine Williams, always thank you for joining. And thanks for sending me those math problems that really start political debates on my wall. That's some really fun stuff. I really appreciate that. Other than that, you can catch me on, don't forget, you can catch me on Mondays. So I stream again on Monday. That's my community brain dump. That's pretty much where the questions that people ask me over the course of the week, I just answer them nonchalant, open forum, build out my script for the following Thursday while I'm at it, talk to you, answer any questions you have. So if you missed the show, last thing, you want to go out to YouTube, because YouTube is the final repository. That is my library. So you don't have to keep up with them or save them on Facebook. You go out to the iTutor Math Show on YouTube, click subscribe. Every time I finish one of these shows, you'll get the update. You can share those, and that's the last thing I want to ask you. More than subscribing, I know everyone on YouTube talks about subscribers. For me right now, it's not about subscribers. What I'm asking you to do is share the content. Remember, 51 million children in the American public school system between kindergarten and 12th grade right now. 51 million of them all having to learn Common Core in a country that we rank in the bottom 5 of the top 30 nations in the planet. Share the content, share the video. If you believe in the mission and the vision of what I'm trying to do, if you believe in me trying to help serve families with the gift that I have, I'm asking you to share the content. Go out to YouTube and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, or just post it to your Facebook and share it with your friends. I'll see you on Monday night. I appreciate you following me. I appreciate your support. Thank you so much. And don't forget, Sunday the 14th is not only the launch of Season 8 of Game of Thrones, it's also my birthday, and I love gifts.